I'm playing Sky Factory 4 in hardcore mode. All I have is a tree to start off with, and out of that I have to build a whole industry without dying once, or it's game over. Let's do it. On the first day of skyblock, I had to get a couple things. Obviously, break down the tree, get a crafting table, get the saplings, get the acorns, and whatever that mud stuff is. That way I can expand and not fall off and die. Well, that ended quickly. Holy crud, I survived. What? Alright, well, that should be good enough. Oh my god, I freaking survived that. Whoa. Ain't that something? Alright, let's put these crafting tables down. Make a bunch of planks. Beautiful. Once I was done putting down the slabs, I started to grow a tree. Once the tree grew and I broke it down, I made another dirt block. That way I can grow 2 trees. Once I was done with that, it was time to move on to the next step. And that is to get another sapling. But this sapling wasn't a dirt sapling, it was a petrified sapling. So the game works like this. You grow a tree, you break it down, and you get 3 materials. Like I said in the beginning, acorn, sapling, and resin. And sometimes you get some other stuff. But you pretty much put materials together to make a new material. And the trees keep giving you new materials. And with the new materials, you can pretty much build anything you want. Once my dirt acorns were done drying to be petrified acorns, I grew a new tree. And then I spent the rest of the day and night planting and breaking down trees over and over again. On to day 2. On this day, I made 3 different kinds of saplings. I'm not going to bore you with the details, but I made a gravel sapling and a clay sapling. And while I combined these together, I got a bone sapling. And that pretty much took up all of day 2. And on day 3, something really special happened. I was able to make a cobblestone maker. I guess it's not that cool. But to do that, I needed sand sapling. So, obviously I had to make that first. Once that grew, I took it down. I then had to make a cauldron where I put lava inside of it, which then I can get with a clay bucket and put all the materials together, and I received my cobblestone maker. And I also expanded the place. And moving on to day 4. And on this day, it was time to sleep. So I had to make a jungle sapling. Once I got that, I tossed it on the drying rack to get some vines. Once that was ready, I took the bone meal, the jungle sapling, and the vines, put it all together, and got my cotton sapling. Once I broke that down and got some string, I got my bed at last, which I was able to sleep and move on to day 5, which I had to plant gravel, sand, and clay saplings. The reason for that is because I wanted to make a smeltery. And if we look in the advancements book, that's the only way to move on. And one of my goals is to complete the advancements book. So that took up multiple days. And the way to make this smelter, you gotta put gravel, sand, and clay together, which then makes grout. Then you put the grout in the oven, and that produces a seared brick. And once you got the seared bricks, you make a big brick. And you pretty much make a 3x3 square with it, and you put lava in a tank, and then you put whatever materials you want to melt on the other side, which then you can pour it out into a casting basin or on a casting table. And on day 10, I completed the smeltery, and I was ready to move on to the next step. But sadly, I still couldn't use the smeltery because I needed an iron sapling. So I spent the rest of the day planting apple trees. And on day 11, I placed down this sapling, not sure how to pronounce it, and I finally got the smeltery working. And now I can make some iron. And with this iron, I can create a small bonsai tree. So planting trees and breaking them down takes forever. With the bonsai trees, they just grow by themselves, and you just connect it to a chest, which gathers everything. And I continued this on until day 13, when I decided to make a little farm, which went on to day 14, but then I realized I couldn't get any animals on it. So on day 15, I made a garden, which went on to day 16. But I got bored, and on day 17, I decided to expand my bonsai farm. And on day 18, I stopped for a moment, planted some vegetables, and got myself a market villager, which sells seeds and farm animals, and some other stuff. On to day 19, where I continued my achievement book, and it said to make a lead sapling, so I did that. Once I got that, I planted the lead sapling, broke it down, and then went on to getting a gold sapling, which took up most of the day. And on day 20, I pretty much tried all day trying to collect the white flour. So I got bone meal and kept hitting the grass, but no luck. The reason for that is because I needed to get a silver sapling. It's the only way to reach the diamonds. Then on day 21, I made another little farm because I thought it would be like an area difference, but no luck. So I got tired of that and made like a little space area to store a bunch of items. Then on day 22, I built another area behind my farm, and I tried getting the white flour there, and still no luck. So I went and talked to the market villager, and would you look at that, she had a white flour. But the only way to get that if I trade it with an emerald. And of course I didn't have any emeralds. On day 23, I just fixed up the place and got ready for the farm animals, which required me to plant a lot of wheat. But I cheated and got a bunch of bone meal. On day 24, I planted my cow and spent all day trying to make it grow. I also planted some chickens. The reason for the cows is because I needed milk. Once I got the milk, I can toss in a lapis sapling and get a blue slime sapling. And the reason for that is because I need a slime block. Once I get that, I can grow some emeralds, or the materials to get emeralds, which will get me the white flowers. So I started the journey to get the emeralds, which was actually a big mistake, because on day 27, I realized that I needed diamonds to get an emerald sapling. The whole reason for the emerald is to get a white flower, so I can get the diamonds. So pretty much I couldn't get the emerald. On day 28, I did some research and figured out that I can just use gray water, which doesn't require a white flower. And that took up all day until day 29, when I got the diamond sapling at last. Day 30, I planted the diamond and broke it down, so I can make it into a bonsai and get as much as diamonds as I need. And that was pretty much the end of the achievement book. So I had to make another goal, and that was to get supreme armor. But let me tell you, it's very difficult. On day 31, I realized I was running out of room for my bonsai farm, so I made an upper level, which took up all of day 31 and 32. Day 33, I made a full set of diamond armor, and I organized for 2 days, which led me to day 35. On day 35, I made my smeltery a bit larger, and I also forgot to light up the place at night, which led to me getting attacked. But I took them out. And the next couple days, I pretty much organized, expanded the place, and cleaned up everything. Until day 38, when I started working on getting essence. The reason why I wanted to get the essence is because I wanted the supreme armor. The only way to do that is build it from the bottom up. So you pretty much have to get the weakest essence, put it together, get the second step, third step, fourth step, and by the fifth step, you have the supreme essence, which you make a supreme ingot, and then you can make the armor, which pretty much takes forever and took almost 100 days. And at the end of the day, I started making a loot fabricator, and that's how I get my essence. This went on to day 39 when I realized I needed quartz, so I had to go to the nether, and the only way to get to the nether is by making another cake. And when I made the cake, I went to the nether and searched for some nether quartz, which took up all day. On day 40, I made the loot fabricator, but then realized I have no idea how to use this. So I did some research and realized I need a simulation chamber, which required ender pearls. So now I have to take out a bunch of endermen. But before that, I decided to make that emerald tree, so I can get emeralds at last. Day 41, I made the emerald sapling and tossed them on the bonsai grower. That way it just collects all the materials. Day 42, I spent all day in the nether, which I had to collect some glowstone and also take out some blaze, because the blaze had some blaze rods and also they dropped some sulfur. Day 43, I spent all day pretty much trying to make another quartz sapling, which took me to day 44. And all I had to do is just put the pyrothanium dust into the smeltery and take it out. And for the life of me, I could not figure out how to take it out of the smeltery. And I figured it out at the end of the day when all I had to do is just pour it on the casting table with a bucket. On day 45, I took the pyrothanium, poured it into the cauldron, and took the blue slime sapling and turned it into a magma slime sapling. And I need all these materials to make a magma slime crystal, so I can make a quartz sapling. Day 46, I spent all day organizing my bonsai tree chest. On day 47, I was able to get the magma slime crystal and put it together with some quartz, netherrack, and an emerald sapling, and that produced a quartz sapling. On day 48, I was still trying to figure out how to get the supreme essence. And there's a lot of steps, but one of the materials that I needed was prosperity shard. And the only way to get that is if I got a cobalt sapling. And sadly, a cobalt sapling cannot be mined with a regular pickaxe. You need a drill or a drilling ray gun, which I actually didn't know about that until later. And on day 49, where I spent all day making a third level for my bonsai trees, because I ran out of room. This continued on to day 50, and I finished it up, and then made an extra section where I can slaughter a bunch of mobs. And the reason for the mobs is because I needed pink slime, and the only way to get that is through a mob slaughter factory. So they pretty much go into the machine and get slaughtered, and they leave behind pink slime. And then I can take that pink slime out, pour it on the ground, and I can get slime mobs, which I take them out and get more pink slime balls. And it took me about all day and all night to get the mob slaughter factory working. Also, we're halfway there to completing the 100 days. On day 51, I was about to make the mob slaughter factory, but then realized I needed plastic. And the only way to get plastic is through a latex processing unit. There's always a catch. So I gathered up all the materials, made a latex processing unit, which took up all day. They never make these steps easy. That's why it always takes all day to do this stuff. Day 52, I ran out of room, so I pretty much had to make another section to put all the machines in one spot. Once I got that done, I moved on to make the latex processing unit work. So obviously it needed two things. It needed tree fluid and it also needed water. But the way to get the tree fluid, I needed to make a tree fluid extractor. So once I figured out how to get that, then I had to place a block of tree behind it so it can extract the fluid, and then I can put the fluid into the latex processing unit. But I also needed to power the latex processing unit, which moves on to day 53. I did figure it out. All I needed is a generator, and then in the generator I just put tree logs, and that got the machine powered up, and it started producing little bits of plastic, which then I tossed into the furnace, and I got the final plastic form. On day 54, I finally got the mob slaughter factory working, and then on day 55 I went to check how much pink slime I had, and it was pretty much nothing. So this was actually going to be a long process. So what I decided to do is put a dirt block right in front of the mob slaughter factory and just grow pigs and push them into it. And on day 56, I pushed in a little bit more pigs, and I was able to get a bucket of slime. And during the night, I made a huge mistake and a freaking skeleton pushed me off my island. No, I fell. Oh my god. I almost died. Thankfully, I survived. Day 57, I decided I wanted to do something else, so I made a Lost Cities cake. Once I got the cake and got transported into the new biome, I was kind of in the middle of nowhere, so I had to pretty much make my way to one of these spheres. But it was pretty far and it took me all day, and I had to get back to my mob killing factory. On day 58, I realized that the mob spawning area was way too small, so I made it much bigger, and then I made a section in my area where I just put a big spot of water. That way if I fall off again, I can land right in there and stop trying to hit the edge and die. And then at night, I checked out if the bigger area worked, and it did. So I was producing a lot more pink slime. And then on day 59, I went back to the Lost Cities and finished up my trail to the sphere and checked the place out. There was a couple things here and there, but not too much, and it was getting dark, so I went back home and took out a bit more mobs. Day 60, I took out 2 buckets of pink slime, and I thought a trick would work, like when you pour water in a 2x2 square at opposite ends, you get unlimited water. So I thought the same would work with the pink slime, but it didn't. I ended up having just 1 slime ball. But I wanted to convert this into a pink iron, but the way to make that is if I made a fluid sieving machine. Hopefully that's how you pronounce it. So I made the machine, but I needed more pink fluid. So I spent all night collecting more. Day 61, I expanded my chest area so I can organize more stuff. On day 62, I got tired of doing the pink slime, so I decided to finish up the advancements book. All I had left is to make a donut sapling, a bacon sapling, and the last thing was to get a cobblestone mud bucket. So the donuts were pretty easy. I put all the materials together and then planted the sapling. The pig one required extra steps, so I slaughtered a pig, cooked the bacon, squashed it, got little strips of bacon, and put all the materials together and got a bacon sapling and put that down. Day 63, I got the cobblestone mud, which then I finished the achievement for Sky Factory, which was pretty cool. But then I decided to make a heart container, and I looked up the whole process, I looked up all the materials, but then realized it was way too freaking hard and I spent all day on it and I just gave up. Day 64, I was able to get another ender pearl, and it was time to make the simulation chamber. All I needed is a flat glass panel, 2 ender pearls, 2 lapis lazuli, a redstone switch thing, and the last thing I needed was a suit covered machine casing. And then I had a simulation chamber, but I still had no idea how to use it. All I knew is that I needed it, and this gets me my essence. And day 65 was a good day. So I was collecting that pink slime for absolutely no reason, because I picked up an Omni tool. First I thought it killed mobs, so I tried it on a spider, didn't do anything, but then I realized I can break down blocks and pick them up. So I went to the nether and broke down the cobalt, and that's how I freaking move on. Thank God for that mob that dropped it. Day 66, I spent all day putting materials together so I can get a cobalt sapling, and which I was able to do at the end of the day. Day 67 was a little bit complicated. I had to learn a lot. So pretty much the first thing I had to do was make a data model, which was pretty easy. And then I took the data model and a bone, and I got a skeleton data model. And then I go to the simulation chamber and put the data model in, but nothing's happening. So obviously the next step is to actually power the simulation chamber. So I had to make a generator. Once I got that done, I needed to build up the experience of the data model. And there's 2 ways to do this. You either kill a bunch of skeletons or leave it in the simulation chamber, and then it will level up. But I decided to do both. But first I had to make a deep learner, then put the data model of the skeleton inside of it, then take out a bunch of skeletons. Day 68, I put the skeleton data model inside the simulation chamber. I realized that I needed more overworldian matter and pristine skeleton matter, and the only way to do that quicker is to level up the data model. Day 69, I needed more data models, so I decided to use an android model and a creeper model. That way I have 3 of them. This will allow me to get more pristine matter, and then I'll be able to get more essence. The reason why I needed the essence was to get the essence seeds, and once I got that, I can then make a prosperity sapling. Once the models were made, I spent all night leveling them up. Day 70, I decided to go to the Lost Cities for some reason, and I pretty much adventure more out into it just to see if there's anything else I can find. There wasn't much more, just a bunch of mobs on the ground. I just went back during the night so I can level up my modules. Day 71, I was able to collect enough tier 1 essence, make them into seeds, and then put the cobalt sapling in the middle, and I at last got my prosperity sapling. And this was the step that I needed to get my supreme armor. Well, it was just the beginning. On day 72, I started to get higher tiers of essence. So let me explain the whole process of getting supremium armor. So there's 5 tiers, and every time you go up, it gets harder and harder to get the newer essence. For example, you need 4 inferium essence to make 1 prudentium, I don't even know if I'm saying this right, essence. So technically you need 16 inferium essence to make 4 prudentium essence, which then that makes only 1 intermedium essence. Get what I'm saying? And when you get those essence, then you can actually start getting the ingots. And to get the ingots, you need 2 essence and 1 ingot to make the 1 specific ingot, or actually to tier up the ingots. So you start off with the base essence ingot, which you need a prosperity shards and iron ingot. Then you get the inferium one, the Prudentium one, the Intermedium one, the Superum, and then the Supremium essence. And that's the last one to make the Supremium armor. I know it's a lot. Sorry, it's confusing. But pretty much there's a lot of steps just to get the final armor. That's why it takes so long. And I pretty much started doing that on day 72. Day 73, I just worked with the simulation chamber all day. So on day 74, I tried to make ender pearls. So the first step was to get endstone. So all I had to do was pretty much take glowstone and put it into a casting basin. And the next step, I needed some snowballs. So I just made a froster machine. And then I waited to get some snowballs. Day 75, I just worked all day to get a bunch of ender pearls. So to make an ender pearl, you need extraterrestrial matter, an emerald, a snowball, and a slime ball. And pretty much, it makes an ender pearl. And I was able to get 7 that day. Also, I took down the mob slaughter factory because it was pretty much useless at that point. It came out that I really didn't need any pink slime. Day 76, I wasn't getting enough pristine matter so I can get more essence. So I pretty much made more simulator chambers. Once I did that, I put the generators under them and waited. But then I realized the generators were way too freaking slow and I wasn't pumping out enough materials. That's why on day 77, I upgraded the generator. And this went on to day 78, which still took all day just to get the upgraded combustion generators. Day 79, I was still messing around with the combustion generators, and I realized there's slots under it, and those are used for upgrading it. So what I did, I made some speed modifiers and put those in. But then another problem arrived. It ate up the wood way too freaking quickly. I had to fill up a whole chest of wood and somehow plug it in to the generator so it has enough power, which takes me to day 80. So I made a bigger spot in the back, got the chest down, and I had to figure out how to plug it in now. From the chest to the generator. First thing I did, I used the item extraction cable and it freaking worked. And with the speed modifiers, it was just taking up all the wood very quickly and I was producing a lot more stuff and I had a bunch of energy. Day 81, I spent all day filling up the chests so the generators have plenty of power. I was also upgrading the essence to the next level. I also did the same on day 82, but I started upgrading the ingots as well. And this continued all of day 83 too. And on day 84, I was still upgrading the essence, but I felt like the simulator machines were a little bit slow. So I made a bunch of speed modifiers and made them go faster. Day 85, I just added on another simulation chamber just so I can speed up the process. Day 86, I spent all day leveling up the essence. And on day 87, I still worked on the essence, but I got tired of it and I started working on a new project. And that was to get an enchantment table. But I needed a bunch of books and bookshelves. And this went on to day 88, where I made a new section so I can put the bookshelves in that spot. Day 89, I got the enchantment table, put it down, and my enchantment area was complete. I took all my armor and my sword and my bow and upgraded everything. And I tested out the bow, and it was pretty cool. And the armor itself was pretty cool too. I got to jump really high. And on to day 90, only 10 days away from day 100. I went to the Ender, where I spent pretty much all day killing a bunch of mobs that were in my way and taking out the wither skeletons so I can get a wither head. And I needed that for my data model. And on day 91, I made the wither skeleton data model. Day 92, I had to gather up a bunch of materials to make a wing charm. I already had the wing charm on, and this helps me pretty much just stay in the air for a longer period of time without falling to my death. So I made another one, and then I was planning on making an ender cake, which I had to gather up all the materials for that. And on day 93, I wanted to do something cool, and that is kill the dragon. So I made the ender cake and got ready to teleport out there. And once I got there, I realized that there was no dragon. I even went up to the towers just to see if there was any of those crystal power thingies that helps the dragon, but there wasn't. And then I went to the middle and I saw a bunch of XP on the ground, and I jumped in the portal and I finished Minecraft. So it was a bit weird. I wonder why that happened. And on day 94, I just made an extra simulation chamber and got all that powered up and moved on to day 95. And on day 95, I still had hope for the Supremium armor, so I kept leveling up the essence, but I also needed some armor core, which obviously needs to be leveled up too to reach the Supremium level, so I spent all day doing that. Day 96, I spent the whole day leveling up the essence. Day 97, I still spent all day putting the essence together, leveling it up, and I was able to get the Supreme or the Supremium armor core. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I have no idea. And that was about it. I gave up. I could not get anything else. There's just no way. It would take way too much freaking time. Day 98, I started to panic because I kind of wanted to do something cool, but I was kind of running out of options and running out of days. So I decided to make a Twilight Forest cake, and just to see what's in that dimension. So I made it and I went to the dimension. And when I was there was just a bunch of square pixels that were green, and it was honestly just giving me a headache, so I left. But I couldn't give up. So I made the hunting dimension cake. I put that down and teleported to the next dimension. And when I got there, it was just pitch black. Like I couldn't see anything. So I just gave up too. And pretty much just went to bed and moved on to day 99. I didn't want to give up, so I still wanted to do something cool. So if you guys remember, I was trying to make a heart container, but it was way too freaking hard way in the beginning. So I wanted to do it again. So I started gathering up all the materials. And one of the things I needed was a resource fisher. Once I got that, put it on the water. It took a little bit. And then we're on day 100. It's not over yet. We do make it to day 101. The reason for that is because I was going off by Minecraft days, and for some reason they start off on day 0, and I didn't realize that until I started editing. So yeah, you get an extra day. And pretty much what I did was waited for the fish to be caught in the resource fisher. Once I got that, I had to get the rest of the materials. And one of them was a poison potato. And the only way to get that is to keep planting potatoes until I get a poison potato. And let me tell you the rest of the materials. I need a pumpkin pie, a lily pad, some stew, diamond, chocolate chip cookie, a block of emerald, a salmon fish, a golden apple, and a poison potato. And thankfully, I was able to get all that material at the end of the day. And day 101. And we're freaking done. 100 days on Sky Factory. But, gotta figure out what this freaking heart does. Let's eat it. Eat your heart out. That was it? That was it. Okay, that was stupid. Alright, well, see ya, bye.